All right. Hello, everyone, for the final live stream in this series building a Dusk converter, a Dusk to Pest, the new Pest Browser testing that's going to be available in Pest v4. I think Nuno is launching it on stage at, what is it, Laravel? Is it Laravel Live Denmark? Something like that. It might just be PHP Denmark. I'm not sure. In Denmark, I believe, on Thursday. The point is on Thursday, Pest v4 will be launched. And this is going to be part of it. And I'm pretty excited, as I've mentioned on the stream and before on Twitter, that, I battled Dusk a lot, and it was time for Dusk to get kind of a refresher. But at the same time, I understand that it's a pretty feature-complete first-party library and probably not something that the team now wants to give a lot of attention to, which, again, I think that's completely understandable. And it's a good offering to get people more on board, more interested in Pest. So, so anyway, today, let's do this. Let me recap just a couple very tiny things I did after stream yesterday. We're going to push this up. We're going to give it a final run. Again, there's some more polish I'm going to add to this before Thursday's launch. But I think we can give this maybe 10, 15 more minutes of tweaks from yesterday. I'll rerun it, and then I think what I'll do is I'll switch gears with just 15 minutes and just kind of show you the process of setting up the shift so it will be available in the shift catalog, right? This page. So when you click Laravel, we should now at the bottom have like a Dusk converter, right? Convert to, Pest Browser Tests, right? So we'll probably keep that name. Let's review what I did. I renamed this to HTML attribute. It was miscellaneous. We didn't have any other miscellaneous tasks at the moment, and I gave this a better commit message of rename HTML attribute. And again, I might call this like rename, Dusk attribute or something like that. So we'll see how that kind of feels, right? Because that's what we're doing. We have our log here. We actually are doing the replacements, a little preg replace, or so we believe. Again, we'll give this a final test. And then I'm just kind of like looking to see if we found any Dusk literals. And I'm just doing this because, again, mainly for mainly for things like components. Again, whether that be a blade component, a Livewire component, a view component, whatever. I'm saying component rather generically. But the point is, if you were using one of those, you may pass in Dusk as part of like an array of attributes, right? So you might say something more PHP-esque of like Dusk, and then give it, if I get the arrow right, and we'll give it Dusk, and this would be like category filter. But the point is, pretty much in all of those different language options, definitely PHP, but potentially also in a Vue or something else for JavaScript, this would probably be a pretty standard format. And again, Dusk is enough. It's enough of a unique name that I'm okay kind of doing a broad search for it and just kind of logging if I found some additional stuff. Right? So I think that for now, I'm probably not even going to leave a comment. I'm just going to log it and kind of let people let me know, right? So the other big thing from yesterday was this kind of stuff. So I think we could go ahead and probably do this. I don't think it takes much rewriting to do this. We pretty much have this already. So let's go ahead and rewrite this too, because I think again it'll give my test suite a better look and feel. So let's go ahead and do that. So first things first, let's block back off this snippet and return snippet. And then we'll basically rewrite this. We'll rewrite this probably You probably want to rewrite this with some kind of callback. And we really I don't even think we need to be as strict. Well, we probably should be pretty strict with the browser occurrences too, right? I think we probably should. The problem is I need to add like the additional parenthesis on the end of this call. So the regex is going to be just slightly different. So let's think about this for a second. Do I need a callback or do I just need to capture more? I don't think I need a callback. I feel like I probably just need to capture more of the bit in here. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's visit, sorry, it'll be visit route. And then we're gonna get whatever we capture here, which I guess is like the second thing is now what we're gonna capture, and we'll close it out. So now we need to visit route, and basically we're gonna need to capture some stuff in here. And for now, let's write out, it's always nice to see. So we should go get some from my, again, I'll backfill the thing, but I think visit route is basically something like, some route. And then theoretically, you can pass it, params effectively. That's what that kind of looks like. So my assumption for ease, again, for ease of regex, and we don't have to get into like parsing this with the abstract syntax tree. For ease of regex, my assumption, and this is an assumption, this is not 100%. Again, this is where actually parsing the syntax tree, gives you that higher fidelity. But by the 80-20 rule, by good enough software, it's pretty unlikely that whatever's within this is going to have a closing parenthesis, right? You would have to be doing something like pretty interesting in here, like, new whatever with that for this to kind of break, right? So again, you could write this, and again, you wouldn't even write this in modern PHP because you would just write that, so it wouldn't have the parentheses. So like you'd really need to be like newing up some object or calling some function as one of the parameters inside of here. So again, not crazy code. Definitely, that code's definitely possible to write, right? That is an example of where this regex would end up breaking. But I think for the most part, you're probably just passing in simple params or an array of params here. And you're probably not going to have, most people are probably not going to have that kind of complexity in this particular testing bit of code. In your application, yeah, maybe, might have a higher chance. But I think for here, we could just say anything that's not that, and we're going to take it. So again, pretty dense regex as we start to, again, push the envelope of what we're trying to match, but I think this effectively will work. So basically, if you have browser, arrow, visit route, we're going to take the arguments that you're passing to visit route, and we're just going to expand those into a route wrapper. So you can still call visit, and it'll still effectively underneath call route for you. And then of course what we were doing before, where we're replacing visit, now gets changed. Now look at this. This actually, I think you should probably, I mean, it shouldn't affect each other because of the arrow, but I think we should probably do this one first. We should probably do that one first. That's your most common use case. Otherwise, fall back to visit route and then finally return. So we're going to replace visit. And then the other thing we needed to do was actually rewrite these login as. And I do think we probably want a test case for this. Let's do a test case. Let's do a test case, shall we? Let's go out to laravelshift.com. And let's go to these pull requests. Let's actually get a legit. Where's one of these convert tests with visit route? Let's find visit route. Here we go. Oh, and a login as. Perfect. Okay, this is actually going to be nice. This will actually be like a complex test here. So let's go do that. So let's go to my basic tests. Let's jump here. Let's do a PB paste on Mac. Let's copy this path and change this to complex test, and let's go back and copy that code that I wanted here. So let's copy this into the paste buffer. We'll make that. Let's go ahead and paste it into after as well. And let's go check this out. So we should have complex test before and after. Let's make sure this feels kind of right. All right, let's close out our class. This is the before. So when we're done with this code, what we expect is this actually gets rewritten as a acting as, and the browser line gets pushed down here, and then things get kind of unindented from there, right? Okay, so let's make sure to add this, and then what we would expect here is this turns into this acting as, and then we would add a semicolon. So we would rewrite the login as for the browser thing to be this acting as, and we would push browser. We would push browser to the next line, and then visit route would become visit parenthesis route that. That's kind of what we would expect. Why is route? Oh, I'm in the shift code base. Again, not a Laravel application, so we're getting a little squiggly there because these don't exist. Now, as far as the indentation here, this is a little bit ugly, but again, we can run a code formatter at the end for cleanup. I can't make the assumption that the browser bit is exactly next, right? That's where things get a little bit weird. Actually, this should be equal. So that's kind of what we should expect. Let's run this. It's not going to be close, but that's what we should expect in the after. So let's go set up this test. We got no op, we got basic test. Let's make our complex test. Oh, I'm here in the chat. I must have broken something. Hold on a second. Complex test. Okay. That should be what we want. We're going to run this in a second. Let me check the chat. What's going on in chat action? Hey, Jeffrey, how's it going? Yeah, last stream for this series, and then we'll pick up some cool stuff next Wednesday, get back to the Wednesday live streams. I know tomorrow's Wednesday, but given that I've streamed for a week straight, I think I'll take tomorrow off. Something I'm wondering about is instead of someone using this acting as, they use acting as and import that function. Yeah, does Pest have a helper? Does Pest have a global acting as helper? The code I remember from the example in the docs used this acting as. So again, I'm gonna use the docs as, you know, the source of truth and kind of follow it. All right, cool. Yeah, I know they have that helper, but the example in the docs for the browser test show this acting as. So I'm gonna do that way. All right, let's run this. We expect it to blow up. Yeah. Let's see. Let's get past this double semicolon so we get to the next one. Okay, here we go. So instead of acting as and browser equals, we still have browser login as and visit route. Now notice it didn't pick up visit route because we haven't unexpanded login as yet. So let's fix that and we'll go from there. If we can get this passing, then I think I'll just rerun it and we'll quickly set up the Laravel shift bit. So let's convert the API. We're gonna go here and then this. Let's double this up and we'll say replace login as. All right, and this will return a string. And we're gonna do something pretty similar to this. So what we would expect is we're looking for one of the browser's things and then log in as, right? And in fact, we kind of want to take what's in between there. Now this is where it gets a little difficult. And this is where I may actually end up needing a finder. But again, I'm gonna push the boundaries of the regex a bit. Let's go back to our test so I can show you what I'm talking about. Complex test, not text. It's very possible in here you could be making another function call. It's very possible in here you could be making another function call. In addition, we would need to make sure that on the other side of this wasn't a semicolon. We would need to make sure that this is a chained thing, right? Because if it's a chained thing, then our replacement's a little bit different. Our replacement goes on to the next thing we call, right? Otherwise, we would still want to replace it, but we don't need to worry so much about re-adding browser to a lower place, right? We would really just replace that with this side of the equation with a this instead of browser. So we still have to rewrite the method, but we're not. The one we care most about in our case currently is that this is a chained call on browser, on one of the browsers. So we do want to handle both, but the first one that we care about is again this login as, and then we would kind of take this. Does bother me. It concerns me. And then we would have, let's do the semicolon one first. The semicolon one effectively gets replaced as, we actually don't even need to, well, we need to capture that. Yeah. We don't need to use it, but we got to capture it. This would end up getting replaced as this arrow acting as, and then whatever we captured from before, semicolon. In the instance that it ends with a semicolon, there's nothing we need to do other than just rewrite it and not use the browser bit, because the assumption is that browser is used elsewhere. This is its own independent statement. Okay, why is it not like snippet? Oh, snippet. All right, cool. And then the more complex one is that this is followed by some kind of, well, we don't need that part. We need that part. So this is followed by some kind of spacing and an arrow, potentially spacing and an arrow. And in this case, we would replace the top portion with this acting as. And then what we will do is give it a line break. Yes, give it a line break. And then you need the right amount of spacing, theoretically. I'm not gonna worry too much about the spacing right now. I've got indentation helpers to fix that. So let's just give it a line break, and then we'll replace it with the browser arrow bit. We'll put the arrow back. Okay, let me run this, and I think we'll kind of see how close we got. Okay, so we got this acting as, and we have browser. So yes, our indentation's gone. Look, we actually got it right. So we went from this acting as, or sorry, we went from browser login as with visit route when we expected this, to getting this acting as working correctly. And actually the browser dashboard visit route is correct. It's just not indented is kind of as far as we thought. So if you really wanted to nail this and respect their indentation level, you could capture this. You could capture the spacing that's potentially between the end of the login as and the arrow, and you could analyze that and say, okay, is it indented? You know, the current indentation level, is it indented more? And then you could figure out how to unindent it, and you could change the indentation level. I'm not going to do all that right now. I think the easiest thing to do right now to make this test pass is again just to capture the potential spacing. And we'll put it in front of that. So yeah, now we're just missing that. So now the spacing is back to what we expect. But we have that double semicolon issue. Oh, and we have an extra line break. That's actually a good thing. That line break's actually a good thing. Let's fix that. We actually do want that line break. So we're giving you a new block here. So now our only issue should be the double semicolon, which again, we can fix with a very simple PHP CS fixer run on dirty, and now all of our tests are passing. Cool. I can live with this. Let's see how it performs. Let's see how it performs in the actual PR. So at this point, if we go back up here and we look at those commits, this convert to Pest API. So we noticed yesterday that, oh, that should have been a little better. Hold on. Oh, we got the, oh my God, why does fucking Google Lens, that is a terrible UX. If I click the end of the fucking thing, don't put something in my fucking click path. Fucking Google. Sorry. I hate terrible UX. It's terrible UX. And it's Google. This is like the 5th largest company in the world. Get it fucking right. Okay. Anyway. So we see here that yesterday, as we saw, a lot of these got missed. So I want to see this basically every test case, one for one. I want to see properly converting the API, the initial API. Again, there might be some assertions that need renames, but as we've seen, that's just more and more regex. Very, very easy. We have the context of the block. This is just more and more regex. And I'll ride regex till the wheels fall off. So once the wheels fall off, kick up a finder, get the high fidelity, string manipulate that specific portion. But for now, this works. We just need to get this a little better so these visits are getting picked up. And again, I'm making some assumptions that the structure of the code, this is pretty standard. You know, this is documented conventional ways to write Dusk. If you're writing Dusk in very crazy ways, I'm just going to have to learn those ways, add test cases, and fix it up. So This is closed, I think. No, it's not. It's open. Let's close this so I can rerun it. So let me close this. Let's close this, go back here, go back here. All right, let's pull down on the MacBook Pro, deploy it to all the workers. We'll rerun it. It should pop up here. We'll check it. And again, what I'm looking for, two things. One, I'm looking for better one-to-one ratios between the tests where the API got converted. And I should also see where it fixed some Dusk HTML attributes. That's my expectation. If we see that, I think this is good enough for alpha. We'll jump over to the Shift code base, the laravelShift.com code base, and create the product for this, which is really just creating a database record. So again, if we don't get to that, I'm not too worried about it, but I think it's fun to see the code bases and how it all connects, right? All right, it's taking a second to deploy. Okay, we are deployed. Let's go to the internal worker. And let me just up arrow because it's like my last shift or last command. All right, it's running. Running. Found Dusk literal. Okay, ran in 6.4 seconds. I got a log event though that it found Dusk literal. So that's interesting. I might want to dump those out and see what happened there. Okay, if I come here and refresh, there's our Pest Browser Tests. I only have 9 file changes. I'm not seeing... So I only have the original 9 files, the test files that are changed. I'm not seeing the rename Dusk attribute. So it found Dusk literal, but it didn't actually convert it. That's interesting to me. We might dig into that. Let's see how this did first. Did we get some better one-to-one ratio here? Oh my God. Google Lens. Here we go. Whew. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. This acting as browser visit. Look at that. Much better, much better. Okay, so we unwrapped. We shot out this acting as. We have browser visit. Now again, the indentation level's off. Fixable. Okay, so we unwrapped. We took login as acting as, and we assigned browser visit to the visit. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, and again, we just got the double semicolon here, so that line actually shouldn't change, but the indentation level for that is correct. Okay, again, unwrapped, visit as. Okay, I'm seeing one-to-one here so far. This is good. Okay, here's a pretty complex one. Browser logging as with visit route. Logging as turned into acting as. Visit turned into visit route wrapped. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right, let's go down. Do we have... There's the next test. Browser visit on a multiple line. That's interesting. Awesome. It handled that. This might be a bit interesting. Again, there are things... This is a good test suite to get 100% converted. And again, some of it's going to require manual changes. This with thing's pretty interesting. I doubt Pest has that, like the contextual bit. The other thing too that's going to be fun here is it's a balance. It's a balance of like, do we PR something into Pest to have it have higher, you know, what would we call that? A higher correlation where the APIs are you know, the same, right? Or do I sniff out with and say, hey, this isn't available in Pest, you know, you'll have to do this instead. So anyway, this will be good to run, right? On this code base and get it all the way working with Pest. So, but what I'm seeing, I think for now, what I'm seeing that's important is that all of these are not just unwrapping, they're actually converting the acting as and the visiting. So it looks pretty good. I can't guarantee it's every test case, but it looks way better than before. So how are we on time? 30 minutes? What makes more sense here? I don't think it makes sense to switch codebase to Laravel Shift anymore, actually. let's figure out what happened with this HTML attribute, because I know I have some in the code base. We saw it yesterday. I think the thing to look at is actually, let's go look at how it's written in the code base and maybe try to understand why we didn't find it. Right, so let's search. Let's search for Dusk equals. Okay, Docker index. Let's look at some of these files. None of these are written. None of these appear to be written in any kind of very interesting way. Okay, we're getting into the cached views now. So this is all HTML. Dusk equals, this should have been found. This should have been found. It also said it found a Dusk literal. Oh, no, that log's wrong. I'm always logging. It should be wrapped in an if statement. I'm always logging. Okay, I think the thing to do is to go back to the shift code base and dump out what files it's potentially finding on that first search. My guess, I have two guesses. Let's go back. I have two guesses, two theories. So let's go into this Dusk converter HTML attribute. So first things first, we should say if not empty paths, then do that. Okay. All right, we get rid of that. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this for now. That should clean up the found Dusk literal. It was always saying found Dusk literal and paths was empty. Let's take a look at this again. Boundary / find files matching. My guess is twofold. One, my regex is wrong. Doesn't look wrong, but it could be. We can test that here in just a second. Two, what I think's more likely, I think find files matching knows not to look in certain paths, and one of the paths being the resource path. So I think I have something where I'm like shift all paths. Yeah. This is where I'm gonna start. The regex looks right to me. I'm gonna start by making sure that we include all paths. By default, shift typically only looks in code paths. And while blade templates and all that stuff are code, you get a lot of false positives. So I really only look in there if I know I need to look in there. And this is one of those cases where I know I need to look in there. So let's do this. I think this is it. So let me do a get add dot, get whip, get push. Let's get over back to the MacBook Pro. We'll do a get pull. Let's do an sh deploy. While that's deploying, let's go back over here. And let's close this so we can rerun it. Main reason I'm closing that is just it gets rid of the branch and everything, so that there's no like force push issues. So okay, let's go back to the pull requests. I think we could probably close these two, to be honest, while we're messing around. All right. Whoa, did I just close all of them? Oh no, that was weird. That was a glitch. Did you see that? I closed those two and it removed all of them, even though this one's still open. Another gripe, another UX gripe. What was that about? Come on, GitHub. All right. Let's go back into the internal worker. We'll hit up arrow. Run the PR again. Running. No log output. Ran in 6.1 seconds. There it is. Okay. We're still not seeing it. So now what I want to do is let's dump paths. Something's wrong here. Let's dump paths and let's dump shift all paths as well. All right. Git add dot. Let's finish this out. This is the last bit, because when this PR works the way I want it to, this is definitely good enough for alpha. There's some edge cases for sure, but I can address those over the next 2 days. All right, pull it down, redeploy. While we're waiting, let's just make sure I'm not crazy here. Let's go out to regex101.com. Let's put this in here. And we'll steal a real world snippet here in a second. Let me just run this one more time and see what... I think it's probably the paths. I'm not even convinced shift all paths gets the right resource folder. So, what is going on with my workers? There's always a worker that lags because it's running the shifts, so like actually deploying to it is slow. All right, let me just see what the output shows here. Okay, it's actually finding files. It's actually finding files. So the regex is good. We don't need to do this. The regex is good. It's the replacement. Something's wrong with the replacement. Dusk, potential space, one or more of those, back reference 2. It's my replacement. Yeah, it found a lot of stuff. Found a test too, which is interesting. Oh, I'm here in the chat. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Yeah, yes, you're right. Microsoft does own GitHub. Yet another largest company in the world that is not nailing the UX. Okay. Let's plug this replacement. Something's not matching here. Let's go back to regex 101. Let's plug this in. And let's just say something like div dusk equals category filter. Close out the div. Okay, so yeah, see, something's already wrong with our bit here. Oh, it's an alteration. It's an alteration. My bad. This is matching single quote followed by that. I was thinking this was in a... So there's two options here. You could group this, right? You could group this and say it's got to be one of these characters in this group, right? Or I could alterate it, right? And create alternation. They're suggesting to use the grouping. I'll go with it. That's interesting. What's this? What the hell is that? I've never seen that before in my life. What is it saying? Replace with... What is this STX? What is STX? I have never... regex STX. What is this? In regular specials, STS refers to start of text control character. This character is represented in the ASCII. To match STX character in a regex, you can use hexadecimal. What? STX refers to start of text. Blowing my mind right now. Been writing regex for 20 years. Never heard of this. Mark the end of a header. ETX, end of text character. I get what it is. So it's the quote is at the beginning of the text that we're matching. So this is a reference to that, which is very, very interesting. But I've never seen STX before. I'm gonna have to read up on that. I'm sticking with what I know right now. I'm gonna stick with this for now, but I'm gonna go look at that. Man, it is not often I learn something in regex. That is awesome. Wow. Still blowing my mind. All right. Let's pull down, redeploy, close branches. Did we close? Nope. We still got a broken branch. All right. Delete the branch. Okay. Let me get in once these are deployed. Running the shift is faster than deploying to the servers. Let's keep reading on this. Show more. The regex will specify target match occurrences of SDS control gear within a string. Depending on the regex engine or program language, you might then use this pattern for operations like searching, replacing, or validating text containing these control. It still feels a little weird to me. Part of me feels like PHP Storm messed up on the /2 here, thinking I meant like OX2. Yeah, see, I wonder if they thought like you can match ASCII number codes by using /x to match escaped hexadecimal code, e.g. should match STX. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read on this more. Anyway, that's a very interesting replacement that they did there. It's either a bug in PHP Storm, or it's some very, very interesting regex control that I've never ever seen before in 20 years of regex. There's definitely some interesting things in regex I haven't seen. I'm gonna have to dig deep on that. Okay, we got more files changed, 12. That's good. And here we go. We got our renamed us attribute. Let's see what happened. Okay, hey, there we go. Data test becomes order form. Data test order form. Awesome. So Dusk becomes data test, category filter, great. Dusk, data test, awesome. Look at that, there's a lot here, okay. So again, for this common use case, seems to be working wonderfully. Common use case, regex, working wonderfully. And it applied mostly to my resource views. It did find some others, which was interesting. It found one in dashboard test. I'm just kind of curious what that is real quick. It said it found one in dashboard test. According to logs, it's found one here. Let me just, there we go. Oh. Browser click Dusk order menu. And that didn't get replaced. Ah, see? That didn't get replaced because it had a complex. Why am I doing it that way? I don't know in the real world if you really should write it this way. To me, it feels like you should have said order menu and then the thing with an @ symbol and not that. I'm effectively recreating what they give us. Maybe click doesn't support the @. See, I'm doing it up here with the selector. Yeah, selector, selector, selector. Maybe click doesn't accept the @ stuff. I don't know, I'd have to look into that. That seems like maybe an older syntax I just never really converted correctly. But again, Shift found it. It probably should have noted it as something it couldn't replace, and I should check. So again, good opportunity here. I'm gonna leave that in the logs so I know to kind of clean this up. So I think this is pretty good. I think this is good enough for an alpha. I think what I'm gonna do is clean up the formatting, clean up the double semicolon, you know, change some naming here, and then I'll probably add another comment here around the data helper. And I think what I'll do is I'll basically do a comparison of, hey, in all the things that you found, did you replace all of them? If not, then list the files that didn't have a replacement and leave a comment and educate, like, hey, Dusk equals has now become data-test attribute. Here's a couple files that might not have got converted, right? Personally, I'll probably go attempt to refactor that button click to use one of the ats, and then this all would be a non-issue. But I'm glad we saw it, because I think, again, it's one of those nice little boundary cases that like allows me to improve past kind of that 80-20 and get closer to 85, 90. It's never going to be 100%, but I'm okay with that. Okay, I definitely want to learn more about this. I'm going to leave this tab up too. This is blowing my mind still. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining live. This will be available Thursday in an alpha version, hopefully one that will convert the LaravelShift.com code base itself, and then of course anything I learn while dog fooding it, I will put back into the Shift immediately. And I also expect the browser testing to get some PRs as well. So, if you want to be an early adopter, great. I'll probably have like a discount early adoption rate for the Shift itself, like the $9, discount rate. But yeah, I think as it matures, it will move up into that $19 price tier, I think. So, because I think there's a lot of value here. I mean, again, Dusk can be annoying. You can burn a lot. I mean, you can burn hours on fixing Dusk. So if this thing converts you to Playwright and Pest, and that runs smoothly and faster, to Nuno's point, much faster. You can run it in parallel and shard it and all these other things. Like, yeah, that's definitely worth your time. That's worth $20. You know what I'm saying? That's worth your lunch for sure. You've been giving up lunch fixing Dusk, so lunch on, buy me lunch. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining the fun little stream here. We'll pick up with the Wednesday live streams next week. The rest of this week, I'm gonna tweak this, give it that polish so it's ready to go. See y'all.